The morning she almost gave up on believing in timing was the same morning she accidentally found proof that timing had never given up on her. It happened between a lukewarm coffee and the dull glow of a phone screen, when the weight of ordinary life felt heavier than usual and hope felt like a luxury she could no longer afford. She had no idea that one small, overlooked corner of the internet was about to change the direction of her heart forever. Before the story unfolds any further, take a moment to pause here. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet miracles that happen when people least expect them, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Emily Carter was 31 and living in a city that never slowed down enough to notice her. New York had once felt like a promise, like a place where anything could happen if you just tried hard enough. But after nearly a decade, it felt more like a test she was constantly failing. Her days were filled with managing a small nonprofit's communications, answering emails that blurred together, and commuting on packed trains where everyone avoided eye contact. Her nights were quiet, often spent reheating leftovers and scrolling endlessly, looking for something she could not quite name. She had loved once deeply and sincerely, and that love had ended not with betrayal or drama but with distance and exhaustion. The kind of ending that leaves no villain, only silence. Since then, she had dated carefully, politely, and unsuccessfully. Every connection felt rushed or hollow, like everyone was auditioning for a role instead of being real. Over time, Emily learned to stop expecting anything extraordinary. She told herself that stability was enough, that purpose could replace romance, and that loneliness was simply the cost of independence. On a gray Thursday afternoon, she missed her train home. Because a meeting ran late, annoyed and tired, she ducked into a small cafe near the station to wait for the next one. The place smelled like burnt espresso and old books, and there was only one empty seat near the window. Across from her sat a man about her age, scribbling something into a notebook with intense focus. She noticed his worn jacket, the way his brow furrowed when he paused to think, and the faint smile that appeared as if he had solved a problem no one else knew about. They never spoke. Their eyes met once, briefly, in that polite, fleeting way strangers acknowledge each other before returning to their own worlds. When her train was called, she gathered her things and left without looking back. By the time she reached home, she had already forgotten the color of his eyes. Days later, on a restless Sunday night, Emily found herself scrolling through a local online forum she rarely visited. Buried between apartment listings and lost pets was a section titled Missed Connections. She clicked it without thinking, reading post after post filled with longing, regret, and what-ifs. Some were hopeful, some were desperate, and most were ignored. Then one post stopped her cold. It described a Thursday afternoon, a missed train, a quiet cafe near the station, and a woman with tired eyes and a kind presence. The writer said he had wanted to say something, anything, but fear had won. He wrote about the notebook, the coffee he barely drank, and the feeling that something important had passed him by. He ended the post by saying he did not know if she would ever see it, but he needed to try. Emily's chest tightened in a way she had not felt in years. She read the post again, then a third time, every detail aligning too perfectly to ignore. Her first instinct was to dismiss it as coincidence, to protect herself from disappointment. But something deeper stirred beneath her caution, something brave and reckless. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen by someone who did not even know her name. She stared at the reply box for nearly an hour. Her fingers hovered, retreated, and hovered again. Doubt flooded in, reminding her of every unanswered message and every almost connection that led nowhere. But she thought about the courage it took for someone to post something so vulnerable, and she realized that courage deserved an answer. She wrote carefully, honestly, explaining she thought she might be the person from the cafe and describing details only she would know. When she finally hit send, Her heart raced as if she had jumped off a cliff without knowing if there was water below. The reply came the next morning, then another, and another. Their messages were long, thoughtful, and unhurried, as if neither of them wanted to waste the chance they had somehow been given. His name was Daniel Brooks, a freelance urban planner who spent his days studying cities and his nights questioning his place in them. He had moved to New York after a failed engagement, carrying guilt he had not yet unpacked. He wrote about feeling invisible in crowds and about believing that some connections were too rare to ignore. They did not rush to meet. Instead, they talked for weeks, learning each other through words that felt deliberate and sincere. Emily found herself opening up in ways she had forgotten were possible, sharing her fears about settling for less, and her quiet hope that love could still surprise her. Daniel spoke about learning to forgive himself and about wanting a life that felt meaningful rather than impressive. Still, doubt lingered. Emily worried that the magic would fade once reality entered the picture. She had built expectations before, only to watch them collapse under the weight of ordinary flaws. When Daniel finally suggested meeting again at the same café, she almost said no. Fear told her it was safer to keep the connection virtual, untouchable by disappointment. But growth has a way of demanding courage, and she knew that avoiding risk was its own kind of loss. The day they met, the city seemed unusually gentle. Sunlight filtered through tall buildings and the café felt warmer, more alive than before. Seeing Daniel again was both familiar and strange, like recognizing a place from a dream. They talked for hours, not about impressing each other, but about becoming. There were pauses that felt comfortable, moments of vulnerability that did not require explanation. For the first time in years, Emily felt present instead of guarded. Their relationship did not unfold without challenges. Both carried scars that surfaced at inconvenient times. Emily struggled with trusting that something good could last, often waiting for the moment it would fall apart. Daniel battled the fear that he was repeating past mistakes, that he might hurt someone again despite his best intentions. There were misunderstandings, moments of withdrawal, and nights spent questioning whether fate had brought them together or merely teased them with possibility. What changed everything was not a grand gesture, but consistency. Daniel showed up again and again with honesty and patience. Emily learned to voice her fears instead of burying them. Slowly, the misconnection transformed into a chosen one, built not on coincidence but on effort. They supported each other through career uncertainties, family tensions, and the small disappointments of daily life. Love, they discovered, was not the lightning strike people romanticized, but a steady light that grew brighter when protected. Months later, Emily revisited the forum where it had all begun. The missed connection post was still there, now buried under hundreds of others unnoticed by most. She realized how easily she could have scrolled past it, how close she had been to missing the moment that changed everything. It humbled her to think about how many stories never found their second chance simply because fear spoke louder than hope. On the anniversary of the day they met again, Daniel took Emily back to the cafe. It had not changed much, but they had. Sitting by the window, watching strangers pass by, Emily felt a quiet gratitude settle in her chest. She understood now that life rarely announces its turning points. They arrived disguised as small decisions, as risks taken on tired evenings, as replies sent despite doubt. Just before the ending of this story, here is a special request for you watching right now. Please comment below and share whether you believe misconnections can turn into real love, or if you have ever experienced a moment where timing surprised you. As the year drew to a close, Emily reflected on how close she had come to giving up on the idea of soulmates. She no longer believed they were found through perfection or destiny alone, but through courage, vulnerability, and the willingness to answer when something quietly calls your name. She had not found Daniel because she was searching for him, but because she allowed herself to respond when the universe whispered instead of shouted. If this story touched your heart, If it reminded you that hope can appear in the most unexpected places, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive and reaching the people who need them most. Sometimes love is not about finding the right person at the right time, but about choosing not to look away when the moment finally arrives.